walls of Jericho fell, and they fell hard. Its people were murdered and slaughtered. Nobody stood any chance against the Israelites. Yet in the middle of all that destruction, one woman and her entire family walked away alive. To understand how she survived the Israelite attack, we must go back to Rahab's story. The story takes place inside the great fortress city of Jericho. A woman named Rahab lived there, surrounded by massive stone walls so thick that houses were built inside them. Rahab ran an inn near the city gate, but she was not a woman of wealth, honor, or status. Many people in Jericho hated her. They despised her, mocked her, and judged her because of the life she lived. Rahab was a prostitute. She had no husband and earned her living from the men who came to her house. Her father and brothers lived elsewhere in Jericho, but they could do nothing to change the way people looked at her. But her house had one thing no other house in Jericho had: a window built into the outer wall itself, high above the ground outside. Joshua, the leader of Israel, had been given command after Moses died. The Lord had told him, "No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life." Before the Israelites could enter the promised land God had given them, they first had to conquer one mighty city, Jericho. So before marching against it, Joshua sent 2 men across the Jordan to scout the city in secret. The 2 spies crossed the river under cover of evening. By the time they reached the city, the 2 men joined the line, keeping their heads down, and no one at the gate gave them a second look. Once inside, they moved through streets crowded with closing market stalls, past traders calling out final prices before nightfall, until they reached the one house where 2 strangers could spend the night without raising suspicion. Rahab's, built into the thickness of the wall itself. A neighbor across the street noticed the 2 strangers enter Rahab's house. Before long, the news reached one of the king's officials, who ran straight to the palace. Night fell over Jericho, and the king's men were already moving through the streets toward the inn by the gate. Torches lit the narrow street outside Rahab's door as the soldiers pounded on it and called out the king's demand, "Bring out the men who came to you, who entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land." Rahab had already hidden them. Before the soldiers reached her street, she had heard the noise moving toward her door and acted without hesitation, pulling the 2 men up the narrow stairs to her roof and burying them under stalks of flax laid out there to dry. Spreading the stalks flat, she met the soldiers at her door and lied without flinching, her voice steady, though the men on her roof could surely hear every word. "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they had come from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, the men left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may catch up with them." The soldiers believed her. They turned and ran back through the streets. Rahab climbed back up to the roof, where the 2 spies lay hidden beneath the flax. She did not uncover them right away. She sat down near them first and spoke quietly into the dark, and what she said was the reason Joshua's men would remember her name. "I know that the Lord has given this land to you," she told them, "because a great fear of you has fallen on all of us." She explained that travelers passing through Jericho had spoken of how the Lord dried up the Red Sea before Israel 40 years earlier, and how he had already given Israel victory over the 2 Amorite kings east of the Jordan. When we heard these things, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. The 2 men said nothing for a moment, still catching their breath beneath the flax. They had expected to be hidden by a stranger buying her own safety, not addressed by a woman who spoke of their God as though she already believed in him more surely than they did. One of the spies finally asked her, quietly, why a woman of Jericho would risk her life for a people who had come to destroy her city. Rahab did not answer with a long explanation. She only said that she had heard enough, for long enough. Merchants talking in her own inn, soldiers muttering on the wall. Rumors passed from house to house for weeks, to know which way the coming battle would end, and that she would rather stand with the God who had done such things than die defending a wall he had already judged. She did not wait for them to respond further. She pressed on because she knew the soldiers who had just left her door would return once they found no trace of two men on the road to the Jordan. "Now then," she said, "please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, because I have shown kindness to you." Her voice did not break, but the weight of what she was asking was plain in every word. A father who had never left Jericho. A mother who still believed the city's walls would hold. Brothers who knew nothing yet of the danger their sister had already stepped into on their behalf. "Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death." The two men answered with an oath, speaking quietly, as they knew they could not stay on the roof much longer. "Our lives for your lives," they told her. "If you don't tell anyone what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us the land." Rahab had risked everything by protecting them, trusting two strangers with her own future and the lives of her family. Now the spies gave her their word that when Israel came to Jericho, they would keep their promise and spare everyone inside her house. Rahab led the two spies to the window built into the city wall. She tied a strong rope in place and carefully lowered it over the edge. One by one, the spies climbed down until they safely reached the ground outside the city. Before they left, Rahab gave them one last warning. "Go to the hills so the men searching for you will not find you. Stay hidden there for 3 days until they return, and then continue on your way." Before leaving, the spies gave Rahab one final instruction. "The promise we made to you will only stand if, when we return to take the city, you tie this scarlet cord in the same window you used to let us down. Bring your father, your mother, your brothers, and everyone in your family into your house. If anyone leaves the house and goes out into the street, we will not be responsible for what happens to them. But if everyone stays inside, we promise to protect them. And if you tell anyone about our mission, our promise to you will no longer apply." "Agreed," Rahab replied. "Let it be as you say." She watched from the window as the two spies hurried away into the darkness toward the hills until they were no longer in sight. Then, before dawn broke over Jericho, she tied the scarlet cord in her window. It stood out against the gray stone wall, marking her house with the sign of the promise she had been given. And she left it there, waiting for the day the Israelites would return. The spies did exactly as Rahab had told them. They hid in the hills for 3 days while the soldiers of Jericho searched the roads leading to the Jordan River, but they could not find them. On the 3rd day, the soldiers returned to the city empty-handed. Only then did the two spies leave their hiding place, cross the Jordan River, and return to Joshua's camp. They told him everything that had happened, how Rahab had hidden them, how the soldiers had searched for them, the promise they had made to her, and the scarlet cord she would hang in her window. Then they said, "The Lord has surely given the whole land into our hands. All the people are melting in fear because of us." Joshua moved Israel's camp to the edge of the Jordan River, and the people prepared to cross into the promised land. The river was overflowing at that time of year, but when the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant stepped into the water, the river stopped flowing, and all Israel crossed on dry ground. After everyone had crossed safely, they set up camp at Gilgal, not far from the walls of Jericho. Inside the city, Rahab had already begun doing exactly what she had promised. She went to her father, her mother, her brothers, and the rest of her family, bringing them one by one into her house. She simply told them it would be safer if they stayed with her for a while, but she did not explain everything that had happened. She knew that if the wrong person heard the truth, it could cost them all their lives. Soon, her whole family was living together in her house. Jericho closed its gates and prepared for a siege. No one was allowed to leave, and no one was allowed to enter. The people inside the city waited behind their walls, wondering when Israel would attack. But instead of charging the city, the Lord gave Joshua unexpected instructions. For 6 days, the Israelite army marched around Jericho once each day. At the front were 7 priests carrying ram's horn trumpets, walking ahead of the Ark of the Covenant. Behind them came the soldiers, and behind the soldiers came the rest of the people. No one shouted, no one spoke. The only sounds were the steady footsteps of thousands of people and the loud blasts of the trumpets echoing around the city walls. The people of Jericho could only watch. Every day they stood on the walls and on the rooftops, staring as the Israelites slowly marched around the city before quietly turning around and returning to their camp. No attack ever came. The same thing happened the next day, and then again the day after that. As the days passed, confusion slowly turned into fear. No one understood what Israel was doing or why they kept returning without fighting. Inside her house, Rahab watched it all with her family beside her. The scarlet cord still hung from her window, and every day she wondered if this would be the day the promise made to her would be fulfilled. She reminded her family not to leave the house, even though they still did not fully understand why. Then the 7th day arrived. Before sunrise, while the city was still quiet, Joshua gathered the people once again. The priests lifted the Ark of the Covenant, the trumpets began to sound, and the army started marching around Jericho. They marched around the city once, then twice, then a 3rd time. The people watching from the walls grew more confused with every lap. A 4th time, a 5th, a 6th. Never before had the Israelites marched around the city so many times. Then they began the 7th and final trip around the walls. When they finished, the priests blew one long blast on their trumpets, and Joshua cried out to the people,
"Shout, for the Lord has given you the city!"
The moment the people shouted, the walls of Jericho came crashing down. Stones and dust filled the air as the mighty walls that had protected the city for so many years collapsed all around them. Inside her house, Rahab held her family close. They could hear the noise outside, but no one moved from the house. The scarlet cord still hung from the window, just as the spies had told her. Joshua had already given a special command to the 2 spies before the battle began. Go to the prostitute's house and bring her out, along with everyone who belongs to her. Keep the promise you made to her. As the Israelite army rushed into the city, the 2 spies did not follow the other soldiers. Instead, they ran straight toward Rahab's house, searching for the scarlet cord hanging from the window. They found the house exactly where they remembered it. Rahab was still inside with her father, her mother, her brothers, and the rest of her family. They led them safely through the broken walls of Jericho and away from the fighting that had begun throughout the city. Joshua had promised that everyone inside Rahab's house would be spared, and the spies were determined to keep that promise. They took the family to a safe place outside the camp of Israel, far from the destruction that was about to cover the city. From a distance, Rahab and her family watched the battle unfold. The city, where they had lived their entire lives, was being destroyed before their eyes. The streets they had walked through, the houses they had known, and the great walls that had once made Jericho seem impossible to conquer were now nothing but broken stone and rising dust. Israel devoted the city to destruction, just as the Lord had commanded. Soon fires began spreading from house to house, until thick smoke rose high into the sky. Everything in Jericho was destroyed except the silver, the gold, and the articles made of bronze and iron, which were taken and placed in the treasury of the Lord. By the end of the day, the mighty city of Jericho was gone. Joshua kept the promise that had been made to Rahab. She and her whole family were spared because she had hidden the two spies when they came to the city. After the battle, they were welcomed among the people of Israel and given a place to live with them. For Rahab, everything had changed. She had lost the only city she had ever known, but she and her family had been given a new home among God's people. The Bible says that Rahab lived among the Israelites from that day forward because she had hidden the spies Joshua had sent to Jericho. The woman who had once been rejected in her own city was now remembered, not for her past, but for the faith she showed when she trusted the God of Israel.